episode of the Bleed Blue Daily Show. I am Paul. I am joined by Jaden, who is not in the picture. Oh, there's there he is.
How you doing?
I was just started the show, and you're gone.
Might as well. Who knows?
Just didn't know what happened to you, man. Like thought you disappeared like Cooper Flagg did in the last 5 minutes of the game last night.
All I needed was some water, and maybe he needed some water.
I think we all need something. Last night was a lot. I'm sure there is a lot of people in Big Blue Nation right now that are nursing maybe a little bit of a sore head, a little sleep deprived, but very joyful.
Oh, I mean, yeah, I would take any kind of post celebration negatives if it meant we got to beat Duke all the time. So you got to enjoy it when you get the chance, because honestly, it doesn't happen very often.
Sorry, I'm yelling at my kids. So if you see my mouth moving and you don't hear me, I'm talking to my kids on the blink in the living room, telling them to chill out.
They were out up last night. They were having a good time watching the game too.
Oh yeah, Christian running around in his Reed Shepherd jersey last night. It was fun, but man, what a game last night. What an experience. I don't think we've felt the ups and downs of a game like that with finishing on a high in a long time. I think the last game maybe the hero shot against Houston in the Sweet 16 where it was a big game where we kind of, we've played bigger games where we've won the game kind of handedly or we've been in the game. But I don't remember a game where we were not playing well, went down by double digits, and still won in a long time.
Yeah, we talked about it a lot on the live show last night during the game. It felt like we had been on the opposite side of that game 100 times in the last couple of years, where our talent had jumped out early, had been ready for the moment, and they came out ready to play. They were excited, and then as the game went on, the Order experience kind of started to lean on them. They started to make their impact. They started to make the winning plays when everybody was tired, and we saw that our team was ready for the last 8 minutes in a way that they were not, even though that they had played so well throughout the entirety of the game up until then. It showed the inexperience and the immaturity of the freshmen in a way that we've seen our guys do over and over and over again, specifically in this event, the Champions Classic. We see it all the time.
By the way, just because I know somebody might ask, yes, I'm drinking an Alani, the Winter Wonderland.
Is that your favorite flavor?
Never had it before. First time I've ever had it. It's interesting. A little too fruity here, but yeah. It was nice to not be on the end of that, because how many times have we also seen like the rebound that doesn't go our way, or I've seen a lot of pundits and stuff now talking, like Kentucky has an experienced team, and you saw that in the last 10 minutes, right? They kept fighting. I don't know if we have a no names in the Kentucky lores of history, but this might be the no names. Because it's pretty amazing.
If you listened yesterday, we had a 10-minute conversation about whether about what we needed from Jackson Robinson, all of these things that we needed Jackson Robinson to do all this, and then what was it? It was defense in the end that ended up.
What did I say the keys to the game were going to be? Rebounding and timely defense in the last 2 minutes, right? And Amari Williams. And it turns out it wasn't necessarily as much Amari Williams. It was defense. It was rebounding, because the rebound sealed it. We had some big rebounds too. Some really big key rebounds in the last couple of minutes. And we had a really timely defensive stand. So, I mean, especially in the last 10 seconds there. And it was amazing to see Mark Pope adjust and put on a five that had not played together. I don't know if that's five has played together all season.
They went small all of a sudden.
Small-ish, I guess. I mean, small compared to you didn't have Carr and Williams on the court. But we had said, sorry, I'm listening because my children are squealing. We had said Ortega on Cooper Flagg would probably be a good decision because of the aspect of how physical he is, and he ended up guarding Cooper Flagg on some possessions down the stretch. Amari gets in. I mean, look, I guess everything I hit, right? Amari was a big difference maker because he gets the steal, gets a steal at the end and forces a turnover on Cooper Flagg. The defense was great, and the rebounding, all three of those things sealed. So I'm clairvoyant. Thank you very much. It's just I get all the credit for the win. It was. Yeah, but like the steal and the heads up of Ortega to get his hands in there when Cooper Flagg's going and tries that little inside spin into the paint, like that's an experienced defensive play. What people don't understand is it's not easy to guard your man and know where the ball is at all times, right? Like that's why you looked at early in the game and Carr got caught ball watching, right? Flat ball watching, first possession. So Ortega to have that play to be but he was in perfect position too, right? He had his hips open, that where he could move either way. He had his guy within an arm's length. If he would have gotten the ball, he's not going straight to the cup, and gets his hand on there and gets the steal, hits the free throws, and kaboom, there you go. I mean, just an amazing way to end it, and the way they started hot from three and really didn't shoot well from three worth of shit the rest of the game. I mean, we didn't. And they went ugly. They got ugly buckets. They stopped trying to force threes. They got ugly. They dug in on the defensive side. They rebounded well. Every time Duke punched them in the mouth, they had an answer that never got, like, it would go to like 7, right? And then we would get it back. And they maybe go to 8. And then we get it back to 4. It would never, like, and what did I say in that? And even, again, clairvoyant. In the defensive piece, right, when we said, where I had said yesterday, it's can you stop an 8-point run from being 15? And Kentucky stopped it every single time. They had an answer. Every single time they stopped it from getting out of hand. And that was a massive, massive difference especially in the last 10 minutes, where you saw the inexperience of Duke. And then the big thing is once Kentucky started really punching, right, like really getting close, you saw Duke a little more shaky. They started forcing a little bit more. Cooper Flagg tried to get to the right, just trying to force getting buckets. And we also talked about yesterday, hey, he needs to be at, like, I would say 25 or less, and that's where you want him, and then you want everybody else to beat you. And he had 26.
Yeah, he was awesome, to be honest with you. The last 2 minutes, he looked like a freshman that had gotten tired, and he looked like a freshman that had gotten cramps in the first 2 games of the season. He ended up not getting cramps this game, which I was like secretly in the back of my mind not hoping would happen, but was like counting on a little bit.
Was he amazing though? I mean,
he was pretty dang good.
He was 9 of 9. He was 9 of 19. Yeah, it wasn't like he had an amazing. It wasn't amazing. Now here's the other thing. This is the kicker on this, right? Knipple was 5 of 15 in the first half. He got a lot of shots up, right? He hit some tough shots, so we give him that. He did a couple. He did not get a bucket in the second half. They basically made Duke one-dimensional in the second half.
Yeah, and they ended up pretty much deciding that Ortega was going to stop Knipple as much as possible, as opposed to Flagg. And I just went back and watched the steal from Ortega just to see kind of exactly where the positioning was. He was guarding Knipple on the play where he rips the ball from Flagg, and Flagg is pretty deep in the paint. I mean, he definitely takes a gamble, but as soon as he sees Flagg's head turns, he jumps at it, and he knows that the spin is where Flagg is going on that move. So it looks like a dude that has played 3 years of real basketball at the college level, jumping off of, like, number one, don't let this guy touch the ball open from 3, target of the game. Jumps off of him and makes the play under the basket, like almost under the basket at that point. It looked like a bunch of dudes who had been through that situation before.
A lot of interesting stats in the game. It was a tale of two halves in a lot of ways. Duke in the first half shot 48% from the field. In the second half, 29.4. Massive difference. In the first half, Kentucky shot 36.7%. In the second half, 43.8. For the game, Kentucky ends up shooting 40.3. Duke shoots 39.4. Duke shoots 17% from three, and we shoot 40. So Kentucky won the game by clamping down on the defensive side of the ball. And at the end of the game, we hit 40% from three. That is what they're averaging right now as a team, 40%. We hit exactly what we've been doing, right on the nose. Duke was 20 points below, almost 20 points below what they're averaging. And we clamped the nails down on the defensive end in the second half. And I mean, 29% is not good. That is not good, no matter which way you slice it. But if you look, a lot of guys, like the field goal efficiency was, if you look at Duke, 9 of 19, 5 of 20. And so in those two, you had two guys go 14 of 39 from the field. And they got half of the buckets. Duke only had 28 made field goals in the game.
Yeah, so we talked about the offensive numbers looked similar coming into the game for both teams.
But Kentucky wasn't much better, though. I mean, Kentucky had 25 buckets in the game. They were 25 of 62. This is not as good.
But especially when I look at three-point shots, 4 of 23 versus 10 of 25. And I mean, we started 5 of 5. We shot 5 of 20 for the rest of the game outside of those. But we got non-shooters to shoot a lot of threes, or at least the shooters had to shoot contested threes. It didn't seem like outside of the first, couple minutes of the first half, Proctor and Knipple didn't get a ton of open looks. The open looks were Flagg and Foster, which if you're choosing people that will shoot, you're going to choose for those guys to get the open shots. On our end, Kobe Brea got open a couple times. Ainsley got open. Kerr's going to shoot everything. But Jackson Robinson was open, even though
Kerr was in the building, so the ball's going up. I mean, what did I say? Remember, like that? What was it? I think it was a tie game, or it was tie game, or we were down 1. And I said, if he gets a sliver, I said it doesn't matter. I said if he gets a sliver of space, he's throwing it up, and he pulls it from space.
He had just hit the pull up off the screen in the guy's face. And you were like, well, Kerr has the ball. He's shooting it. Dribbles, backs up, 40-footer. He is exciting to watch. I feel like I need a beer before I watch him, though. I need to take the edge off before I watch him play basketball.
He was 2 of 7 from 3. He was 2 of 7 from 3, so he's definitely not scared to shoot it. He let it fly. We talked a lot about Kentucky going to a shorter bench. Colin Chandler did play. He only played 2 minutes. He came in kind of early, right before a timeout. That we kind of thought that was a saving, getting a free 2 minutes of saving legs potentially. It was a plus minus. Andrew Carr was a +9. Amari Williams was a +10. Ortega was a +6. Lamont Butler was a +10. Jackson Robinson was a +6, which is actually huge because he only had 1 point in the game and he's still a +6, which shows you on the floor what he did on the defensively, how important he was during that game. But like, if you look at that, he had 1 steal. I think he had 2 partial blocks. And
he definitely had 1 block.
And 2 rebounds. So, I mean, but like, I think the biggest thing is the guys that he guarded, he just didn't give much up to. Brandon Garrison was a -7, but Brandon Garrison had a -7, I think, mostly in the first half because that man was an absolute monster in that last 10 minutes. When we went to him in that little stretch, he changed the game completely with that. He's not polished, but he might be the best raw physical specimen of an athlete we have because is he quick he has the ability to just go. And then Lamont Butler basically pulling a Keyshawn Johnson, just give me the damn ball. And like, you saw him taking the ball with way more determination and deliberate attacking. It was attack all the time. He wasn't doing anything but attacking, and that changed the game the last 10 minutes as well.
Yeah, when we started talking about some of the shot selection getting erratic, and you were saying that you thought they were playing a little too fast, Lamont comes in, didn't necessarily play slower, but it was him. He was saying, I am getting to the rim, and I'm gonna get 2 feet in the paint, and I'm gonna create some type of offense for either myself or the team. He got to the paint, got an and one. I think he had another layup earlier in the game. And then he creates the offense. If you build the advantage in transition by getting 2 feet in the paint, then the defense is in scramble mode for the entire possession, and you can find open shooters, and you can find guys that aren't getting the attention that they should have in transition. The biggest thing that I saw, especially with Colin Chandler, is that Pope showed no loyalty. He saw Colin Chandler just didn't have the matchup. He didn't play well in his couple minutes. And Pope said, you know what? He's a freshman. It's not his day. Let's go with our experience. We don't have to play him right now. We're deep enough to not need to play him in this game today. And he did that. He stuck with Jackson despite the bad offense, because analytics said that Jackson was playing well and the team was playing well with Jackson out there, despite a 1-point performance and not making a field goal.
I feel very confident if we played Duke again, because I don't think we played phenomenally well and still won. Like that team, like Duke is, I see what people are saying with the talent, but I don't feel like we don't belong on the court. I don't feel like there was anything there that was like, oh, we can't beat these guys. I thought we played exceptionally average in the first half. Some of that was due to them. Some of that was due to the fact that I thought we played really fast. We didn't take good shots. And I mean, this team's going to get better. Duke's probably going to get better. But I like the makeup of this team, because what we talked about yesterday, the number one thing, right? Jackson Robinson didn't play well. But guess what? The flip side was everything, right? We said if it was a lower, kind of uglier game, Duke might have the advantage because they've got some different ways to score. And guess what? Kentucky turns out that they've got ways to score in an ugly. I think that was the big unknown. Can Kentucky win ugly? Can Mark Pope figure out a rotation when certain guys aren't playing well? What is the 5 that goes out of the 9, right? And he figured it out. Kentucky won ugly in a way I don't think we thought was the way this team could win. And that's terrifying, because they found a way to win, not playing together in a game that they weren't necessarily shooting lights out. This team now can go out, and if they are shooting, like this is a terrifying team, I think now, even more so, because they showed grit and determination on the defensive side of the ball. That was maybe a question. Rebounding was a question. They did that really well. And getting points in the paint, I think the biggest thing with this team is not taking dumbass shots, like to then go, hey, it's not our night, and adjust, because that's where you can get bit. I think it's, if they can find that healthy balance more with the shooters they have, that's the thing that's going to make this team ultimately stupid deadly, because then you have an inside presence, right, with an outside game that's lethal, and maybe you're not taking 25 threes, you're taking 15, but if you're 9 of 15, I'll take 9 of 15 all day over 15 of 35, because it means our efficiency is probably better, because our paint scoring is going to be higher. If we're not taking 33s, 25 to 33s, Kentucky's probably doing a really good job of getting the ball inside and playing a good inside out game.
Yeah, and speaking of getting the ball inside, we talked and we posted around social media. Points in the paint, 28-6 in the first half for Duke. Points off turnovers, it's 11 now. They've updated the stats in the first half for Duke. They fast break points, 8-1 Duke. All of these things were adjustments and things that Pope talked about. KSR post game and his post game interview. They locked in, especially on transition ISO. Stopping one-on-ones in transition and trying to play team defense and try to corral instead of getting some of those one-on-ones. But second half, points in the paint, 20-18 Kentucky. Fast break points, 9-4 Kentucky. You can see Pope made an emphasis on a couple of key spots in the game at halftime. and made the adjustments that they needed. He talked about points per possession on ball screens for defense. It was way too high in the first half, he said. Second half, they did all sorts of different things. I mean, they did like 6 different ball screen defenses in the second half.
They switched it up. What did we talk about earlier, right? That 2-2-1 full court press. They sped Duke up a little bit, right? They made them not feel as comfortable in the offensive set. They did run zone. What do we say? The over-under was 8 possessions, right?
Yeah, something like that.
I don't think they ran at 8. I think it may have been 3 or 4. But it was
they ran a couple possessions.
It was strategic.
The ones that I thought were the most fun were they ran a couple possessions where the ball screen was zone, but everything else was man.
Yeah,
and that was weird. I haven't seen a lot of things like that, but it looked like a lot of fun, and it was a little. It was effective.
It was the whole aspect of. Yeah, it's the whole aspect of what we were saying. Like, you've got to make Duke not feel comfortable on the offensive side of the ball, because that's the aspect of with a freshman team that doesn't have a lot of experience, when they are playing guys that are, no matter what happens, the difference between a 22-year-old and an 18-year-old is pretty big usually, right? Physically. And you're playing against guys like that, and it made them uncomfortable. You could see in especially as the second half wore on, Kentucky wasn't comfortable in the first half, but I feel like they weren't comfortable because they weren't playing well. They yeah, well, that didn't help either, right? Like that was a whole other thing, and thank God that calmed down in the second half. But like, it was it just felt a little off in the first half, and you could tell. And then I think in the second half, you started to see Duke really be uncomfortable, and Kentucky never really, it was almost the mentality that they had of, we're down 7, but I didn't ever, I know someone said it doesn't feel like we're winning. I didn't feel like we were really down even when we were down 6, 7, 8 points. I didn't feel like we were really down and out of the game, because I felt the flow of the game. Like, all right, if Kentucky can get their footing, and I think I tweeted this out with like 10 minutes left, like if Kentucky just play 10 minutes of solid basketball, they can win this game. And that was kind of what ended up happening. I don't think they ever really flinched. That was the other thing we noticed about Mark Pope, right? The thing that you saw with Cal, especially in the last several years, things were going at Cal like this, right? Like, you remember him pointing, why would you do that? Right? Like all those kinds of shit that you would see from Cal.
Jumping up and down, running out of the coach's box, go,
right? I don't think you ever saw Mark Pope do. Mark Pope was very right? Now, he got animated sometimes with the refs, which I think you need to as a coach, right? But even when like he pulled Jackson Robinson off, what do? He's put his arm around him and he's like talking to him like he's patting his chest. It wasn't a dressing down. It was encouragement. Hey, man, like the game is going to come to you. Like, keep going, right? And I think that's the thing. Like, when you have a leader at the helm with a bunch of guys that are like this, I think they all have that chip on their shoulder of like, we never thought we'd be wearing this, right? Like, this is the thing we never thought we'd be. And he's just reminding them, like, nobody thinks you deserve to be here, right? Nobody expects you guys to win. Nobody expects all this. And what happened at the end when the final whistle goes? A no name that nobody thought of gets an offensive rebound off of a free throw and seals the game over the God himself, Cooper Flagg.
Hey, but we can't play with him. We can't.
Oh, God. Speaking of, we haven't talked about that. Jack Pilgrim posted the video. If you have not seen this, go to Jack Pilgrim's Twitter. And he posted the Duke players. You could hear them saying they can't play with us. Well, Duke, I got a thing for you. Not only can we play with you, we can beat you. So,
for sure.
How about the apples?
Yeah, and you were talking about kind of picking up players and some of the things that Pope was doing. He got on a couple players. He got on Garrison at one point. Kind of yelled at him right after. He's with them, chatting it up with them. He's patting him on the chest like you said he did for Jackson, and he pulled Jackson aside, got on him, pulled him aside, and showed him he loved him, right?
But even the getting on him isn't. But the getting on him isn't like Cal used to like get down, right, and like almost look like he have Tourette's. He would just shiver, yelling at guys on the bench.
When he just shakes and doesn't say anything.
But like Pope, when I don't feel like he was yelling. I feel like he's coaching, right? Like, hey, like you can't go this way. You like stay in like.
It was like better.
Yeah, even in the aspect of maybe he's getting on them or something, right? It's not in the aspect where I feel like they are feeling attacked. right? Because
Oh,
look, the
definitely
last
not.
thing you want to do when you're in the Cal teams especially, is an 18-year-old kid on the bench getting a dressing down in front of 20,000 people in the arena and another 1.5 million people or something like that watching TV. It gets in your head,
We
right?
were all telling them they stink on Twitter for the last 2 weeks, and then now
Yeah.
they're getting ripped apart by coach too.
Yeah, look,
Um,
I do feel funny because like about like the whole Cooper Flag thing, but like literally, it's more so for the people that have talked all the shit, not necessarily because it feels a little dirty as a 30, almost 39-year-old to talk shit about a 17-year-old who's going to
it
be
feels
more
much
rich than I
better
ever
now
will
that
be.
it feels much better now that they make money legally. I feel like if
Uh,
you're getting paid
yeah,
for this, I feel like I can tell you that you're worse at basketball than I could before.
sure,
It's your job.
a little. Look, I agree. Look, and I think
Maybe I'll feel
I
different when
think
I'm not in college, but right now, I used to not, kind of try to refrain from individual players
Dan
publicly, but
Hurley
hey,
Dan
more than
Hurley
that.
said that, right? When Dan Hurley, they asked about, is it going to change the way you coach, right? Or something because now of the NIL, guys scared. He said, hell no. He's like, I'm going to coach them harder now because now they're getting
Yeah,
paid.
you
Now
bring it
there's an
all.
expectation, right? Now there's an expectation of these guys. And like, if you're coming in here and you're a high guy that's making money, it's just like now if you're in the NBA, you're expected to
There's an
produce.
there's an investment from the university, from the boosters that the coaches have to give them a return for.
Yeah. Yeah.
That
It's it's
wasn't as much the case before.
it's definitely
But
an interesting era.
with getting on Garrison and Jackson, and then immediately bringing them up right after, Carr, I can't remember what play it was. I think it was Carr made a mistake on a play. Garrison, right after Pope had got to him, pat him on the chest, let him know what was going on after he got on him. Garrison, right up in Andrew Carr's chest, patting him on the chest, right up in his face, letting him know it's okay, getting him settled down. And that's a sophomore,
How
I think.
big was Andrew Carr, though, by the way, last night?
Oh, he was awesome. I don't know
I
how the
mean,
matchup worked. It shouldn't have worked, but it worked so well.
did you see Cooper Flag was had a -8 last night?
Did he end up -8? I mean, I would imagine. I mean, he played the whole
He
second
had
half. They lost by
Proctor,
14 in the second half.
him, Brown, and Proctor. Proctor had a -9, but Cooper Flag had a -8. So
Proctor,
we also
Flag,
played
and
way more guys than them.
Proctor, Flag, and Knipple played the entire second half. So you want to talk about like getting tired and 13 minutes left in the game. For the first time, we throw a zone trap defense at you full court, and then all of a sudden, with 2 minutes left, you've been guarded by a certain player. You figured out some moves against them, and all of a sudden, you have a guy that's 6 inches shorter up in your grill, trying to make you dribble and do these different moves. That's why he had 3 turnovers in the last 2 minutes after not having a turnover the whole game.
Well, also got pressed. I mean, he also got pressed, right? Like they also changed up the defensive style in the second half. In the last 2:30, a whole different team showed up in the last 2:30. That Duke, you saw when Shire called that timeout, he didn't have a clue what the fuck to do. He had no clue what to do. He called that timeout and he had like Duke didn't know what was going on. Shire didn't know what was going on. I mean, but imagine that if you're a coach and you're sitting there in a close game, right? And then all of a sudden the coach goes out and throws an entirely different five that you've never seen on film before, that's not played in the entire game before, and all of a sudden gets 2 stops and now they're taking the lead. You're like, what the hell just happened? And
Yeah,
Duke got bailed out. That shot that Flag hit and one was a very soft foul because he turned in and always just standing there. He didn't move.
is that Brea?
And
Was that Brea that got that?
I think it was on. I think it was. I think he was. Brea was guarding him, but he spun when he went to spin. Owe was in the lane. He just had his hands up and he raises kind of above and gets his elbow like on top of like in between his shoulder, and they called the foul because it was real soft. There's some real soft calls in it for him, but like obviously he didn't kill us. But that was that was kind of like that was their only play that they made basically the rest of the game. I think it was like a minute 36 left, and then we go down and instantly Carr gets an and one, go back up by 2, and the game was we never trailed again.
Yeah, so Shire fell into a trap that it feels like a lot of college coaches get into, which is last 2 minutes or last 3 minutes, game is close, give it to the best player, and everybody else get out of the way, right? And we had defensive options and defensive plans that we hadn't done yet, and when they spread it out and said Cooper Flag go to work, we had things that he hadn't seen before. It was like he was going the first possession of the game, but he was gassed. And he didn't have his lob threat out there in the end. He had, we were playing good off ball defense on threes. And they said go ISO, and we got him into a lull until Ortega and Amari could get a chance, to make a play. And so they changed everything so late. They kept the first half so vanilla and changed everything so late, and it looked like they waited until they were tired. Like they were banking on them getting tired too. Like they waited till they were getting tired, then started making them think and move quickly. And they fumbled the ball a couple times because they moved too quick without the energy to do so.
Super excited. I love how Louisville fans are trying to chime in.
You're a Louisville fan still?
Yeah.
I thought they quit again. Louisville fans, that's kind of weird to be watching us, is it not? Like, would you ever watch a Louisville Daily Show, like on social media?
No.
That's weird.
I mean,
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Would anybody?
Yeah, but you're weird.
Why am I weird?
No, the Louisville fans watching a Kentucky show.
Oh no, so it wasn't a Louisville fan. It was so they posted the couches, right, on fire. Said UK wins a basketball game in November and they're burning couches. So I just responded and I just said it's okay. Where you're not used to winning a lot of basketball games. Period.
It's a good call there. It's a good call.
7 wins in 3 years so far. Good job, my guy. Good job, my guy. Like Louisville fans, I don't understand. Like I get you want to talk shit and everything, but like, bro, you might get us in football this year. Maybe. I'm gonna go with still maybe on that. I still don't think you all are good. You better hope we got a bunch of guys out because we're still got more talent than you. You just play a soft ass schedule. You better hope. You better hope.
You're not beating us without them.
Because if that happens, we've got 6 years in a row on U of L football, and I don't know in the next time. Listen, I'm gonna tell you right now, U of L basketball ain't making the NCAA tournament this year. All right, they're gonna be lucky to be 500.
I actually think they just don't have the players just aren't good enough yet. I actually think Kelsey's a pretty good coach.
I think he's such a buffoon.
They didn't look good in the Tennessee game, but they did the little things and stuff that good teams do. They just the players that just aren't very good.
But here's the thing: if you're an Air Fingers quote blue blood program, and you're having to have your coach run around the campus,
you're saying they are. They say they are.
Well, I mean, they are top 10 in all-time wins. They're top 10 in all-time wins. They've got 2 national championships, right? Like they've been to a bunch of Final Fours. So technically, they are, right? Like if you're in top 10 in all-time wins, you probably are blue blood, more than likely, right? It looks so dumb to recruits that your coach has to run around the campus and ask people if they're coming to the game. Like that is such a bad look because Kentucky's just going to sit here. Like if you get into a recruiting battle with a kid in Kentucky, like what are they going to do? Hey, look at this coach. He's got to beg the fans to come here. Look, there's 22,000 here. And we don't have to go run around campus and beg anyone to show up.
I mean, yeah, I will tell you, like when I go to class and I'm like, oh, you see Louisville's coach running around? I mean, I talk to people, it's college class. Not everyone's a Kentucky fan. People from all over. And they're like, yeah, that was weird. Like, what was he? Why is he running through campus trying to get people to go to a top 10 game? And 2020, I think he's a 26 commit. Tyron Stokes in Louisville, Southern Indiana, maybe. Like, this is a big recruiting matchup. This is like Kentucky and Louisville are both going to be in on Tyron Stokes. This is somebody that is important in that class and somebody that both teams want, assuming that Pope is continuing to recruit him. I don't see why he wouldn't. But yeah, it's stuff like that matters. Taylon Kenny is another in-state kid that is hooping with Jasper Johnson down in overtime. There's a white kid in the next class that's really good. He's like 6'8" or something. Like all of these kids are going to get recruited by both teams, and when they see Louisville's coach running around, campus begging people to come, and then we have a sold-out press conference, it tells you where the two programs are at.
It's definitely much different. It's like, I get it. It's a rivalry. You want to talk shit, but like it's kind of like know the room, right? Like if in basketball you have 7 wins in 3 years, you haven't been to the tournament in what 4 or 5 years, something like that. Like my guy, like sit this out until you get something. Sit it out. Just stop. We get it. We understand it. You don't want to see us do good, but stop. Like sit it out. Like you guys have no talking room against Kentucky in just about any sport. Maybe you'll get women's basketball because I think we play Louisville this weekend. I'm not sure. I got to double check that.
Women's team gross. The women's team is nasty.
You might, but guess what? We might get you there too. And then what do you got? You don't have baseball, you don't have women's basketball, you don't have football, and you don't have men's basketball. What are you going to talk shit to us about?
They have, never mind.
Rowing? We don't even know what that is. And our hockey team's about to be officially a real D1 school. Is yours? Like, look at this shit.
Yeah, we beat them when I went to that game one time.
Like, so here's the question. Kentucky, I want to ask this. With Kentucky going D1, is Kentucky going to build like an actual like ice rink for like an actual thing for them? Because they can't just play there if they're going to be a real D1 program. It's not going to be club anymore.
What if, I know they're doing construction. I don't know your familiarity.
Rupp Arena.
One, yes. Two, I don't know your familiarity with the buildings on campus, but like between the Johnson Center and the 90 and those dorms, there's a big field where like the towers used to be. That's still just a big grass field. There were like rumors and words that they were going to move an on-campus basketball facility there at like my freshman year, and then that like fell through, and they just renewed the Rupp thing. There's an open space in the middle of campus right next to all the dorms.
How excited are you? How excited are you for real NCAA hockey, though, for Kentucky? That's probably not going to be midnight games anymore. They're going to be real legit games playing real programs.
No, keep them at midnight.
No, hell no. I won't. No, I'm too old for that shit. I love hockey. And like, how big would it be if they like have a Rupp game once a year? Like once a year they play at Rupp.
Or Memorial.
Yeah, but I don't think Memorial has the capability as much. Like we know Rupp Arena has the capability for it. Like so, yeah. But we know Rupp has it, right? Because Rupp has like Disney on Ice and all those things. Yeah. We know they have the capability to do ice in Rupp Arena. That's what I want. What would you do if you saw like Michigan versus Kentucky in Rupp Arena with 22,000?
I've seen Michigan versus Kentucky hockey. It's insane.
No, but not club team Michigan, like real team Michigan, right? Like it's or Boston University, like one of those top 10, 15 programs coming here. Again.
They brought in Alabama a couple years. That's already D1 and played them. I think they got smoked, but like that, Alabama is a legit team that is a good D1 team that's in our area that we could play in Rupp Arena. Every year.
Well, I'm just saying, like, if you could get like one of the blue blood hockey teams to come down and play in front of 20,000 and just like, I will go nuts. I will be the happiest person. I will be so excited for that.
Give students free tickets and like the whole upper arena. And let's pack Rupp for a hockey game. Oh, that would be so cool.
So we're gonna get the coaching staff on the coaching staff on either a live show or like a podcast or something. We're gonna get them and talk about this. So I've already been talking to them. So these will be good questions about that. But I mean, that would be super fun. I know that you like Lexington, I think used to have minor league hockey or something at one point. I think maybe it was. I know Louisville did because the Florida Panthers used to have their minor league team in Louisville. But as a big hockey guy, man, boy, that'll be fun. And look, it's just one more thing. Could you imagine Kentucky going to like the Frozen Four? Because I would go.
Oh, if you haven't while the games are still at midnight, if they're not going to be at midnight anymore, if you're like around campus or just you have, maybe not if you have kids, but if you're around campus or you have older kids that are close to college age, you should go to a hockey game. Those things are awesome. Everyone is just there to like yell and have fun. It's after football, my second favorite sporting event on campus. The hockey games are awesome, and you should definitely go to them.
I've been to one hockey game in my life.
They're so fun.
It's just so late. It's hard to get there, but it's hey, I can't wait for it. I think it's gonna be gonna be really fun from that perspective. Just add something else there that we can just get crazy about if it was to get kind of good and exciting, Plus, won't it change? Won't the schedule change? Won't it be more of a spring, like winter, spring sport now?
I know they've changed the schedule for a lot of sports. I think I was seeing that tennis is like separated by the individual and the team now. They're in different seasons, which matters because our tennis program seems to always have somebody that's amazing. Um, but like they've switched some of the scheduling around. I mean, even just like football recruiting and stuff like that. The schedule is all different this year, so I don't know exactly what they're going with for the hockey schedule, but I know that the NCAA is definitely making timetable adjustments all over the place. Wouldn't surprise me if they kind of play through winter like the basketball. Like they kind of play a fall season and a spring season, or it's like a winter and then a pre-winter break and a post-winter break season. I think they play Friday at home against somebody that's not a big name. I can't remember who they play against, but there's a chance I am there.
The women's soccer team. So the other thing too is the women's soccer team plays at home this Friday in the NCAA tournament in the first round, hosting that. It's the first time in like a decade. So hopefully you get out and support the women's basketball team. Pack the bell.
You want to hit the exciting doubleheader, do that and go to hockey. Hit them both. Those are going to be two fun games.
Yeah. I don't know what the weather's going to be, but I'm sure it's not going to be warm, but it'll definitely be fun. The women's basketball team obviously won last night. I think it's the last time the men and women play the same day, right?
I hope so, because it was unfair that they did not get a chance to get the spotlight last night, because that Wofford team is like pretty good. They picked up win first in their conference, and they beat the brakes off of them. It was never competitive. It
was never close. They beat them by 30 something. They do play Louisville on Sunday night at 6. Yep, they play. The women's team plays Louisville Sunday night at 6.
They're winning their games by an average of like 39.3 points per game.
The women's team?
They haven't allowed more than 43 points in a game. There are 40 minutes of basketball. They're like 1 point per possession, or 1 point per minute is what they're giving up.
Is that good?
That's insane. There's no team in the country will finish with that.
So Kentucky plays Louisville. Louisville's 1-1 on the season. They're ranked 18th. Kentucky's 2-0 and ranked 20th. I don't think the rankings will update again until the next game, but it's a top 20 matchup against Louisville at Memorial. I have a feeling it'll probably be sold out. I know we're covering the game. I guess got to just remind I got to go get that. I don't know. I'm guessing you might. I guess you might want to cover that game on Sunday, right?
I thought we already had that one scheduled, but
I don't think no one's covering Sunday yet. I haven't put in for Sunday. So
okay, well then I guess I can, but let me double check with some of the other people. I think
I might do it too. I might cover that game. I'm debating covering that game myself, but we also have extra tickets too if we want to. If people just want to go.
I mean, I plan on going currently, but I mean, I get free tickets as a student, so.
Okay. Well, we'll talk about that more offline. But the men play Lipscomb on the 19th. They've got Lipscomb, Jackson State, Western, Georgia State. You feel good about those 4? I think they're 4 straight home games. Western, I think, could be a decently tough matchup. They're always pretty good.
The Ruff will be excited to play a team that they've heard of / an in-state. Like the Western game in the COVID year when they had to reschedule Louisville, that game was crazy. Like there were so many people there, and it was like loud and excited. That was a lot of fun.
That's all before the week of Clemson and Gonzaga. I think we got to set up some watch parties for those two. The watch parties are fun, right? Like that seemed like seems like it's a pretty. I got to figure out a way that maybe we can stream the game too. I don't know how to do that. I think there's a way we can. There's a way we can. We can do it. Because people do it. I just need to see if it's feasible now. It might not be now feasible. It might have to be a down the road feasible, but it could happen potentially. We just have to play it out. But we won't do it. We will always do things legally here. We're not going to just pirate it. We want to be legit. We don't want to get in trouble and everything. And I think there's a way to request some stuff, but we might not be hitting the things just yet that we need to hit for that. But we'll see. Message boards are coming to the Bleed Blue website. Jaden, it's a free site, no paywalls. Should be an interesting experience.
It's
Oh,
it's exactly my kind of stuff. Sorry, my dog is like down here and she just jumped on me. It's exactly my kind of experience. Don't have to pay money. Just click on it and start talking to other Kentucky fans. It's going to be a good time. I'm excited for that.
all you got to do is log in. All you have to do is have a login, make a username, just like other sites. Just you can't just like walk in and comment. So we'll be a little bit like that, but you will not have to pay for it.
Yep. But I was going to be awesome.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to that. There's Kentucky's football. I didn't get any media. Huh?
Can we not? Can we skip that sport?
All right, Kentucky plays football this weekend. There you go.
Murray State's really bad. Cutter Bully might play quarterback. That's the story of football for the week. We'll talk about that on Thursday and Friday. Actually, no, I want to ask: is Murray State the worst team that's ever like come here?
They're really bad. They're 1-9. They're 1-9. They're bad, right? But that's all right. We'll talk more about that tomorrow. We're going to talk basketball. Let's stay positive. We got plenty. Thursday, Friday, we can start to bring football in. All right, and I think we got to talk more women's basketball Friday too, because this is a big game, right? It's so we're gonna look at that more. Obviously, the women's got some interesting games coming up.
Yeah, they've got a lot of good teams.
Obviously, they've got Louisville coming up. Then they've got Arizona State. I mean, this is a run here of 3 straight games: Arizona State, Illinois, and North Carolina.
I mean, yeah, although those teams are pretty decent, and we'll definitely give them.
North Carolina is ranked 13th.
Yeah,
the other two teams are not.
Kenny Brooks is not scared to schedule teams that can compete with them and give them different challenges. And it's encouraging. They're going to be ready to go because it's a lot of new players playing together for the first time, the same way the men's team is. I mean, the women's team is they got 2 of them back, but it's still a bunch of new faces doing a bunch of new things, and they're trying to figure out, and they're going to get plenty of chances to see if they have what it takes.
Are you disappointed that we do not get South Carolina in Memorial this year?
I guess a little bit, but
I think LSU's the highest ranked team.
I'll say yes, just because.
Nope. LSU and
go.
Kentucky gets LSU and Texas in Memorial this year, so they'll have 2 probably top 10 teams come here. Texas is ranked 4th, and LSU is ranked 7th.
Yeah, I saw. I also found Louisville's loss is to number 5 UCLA. So,
what was the score?
66-59. So it's Sunday is going to be a matchup. It's just like Tuesday. You had fun Tuesday. Go to the game on Sunday as well. It's going to be the same kind of high level matchup between 2 teams that really hate each other. I hate.
And it's also a lot of the same kind of narratives, right? With Kentucky women's team of first kind of test. How's Kenny Brooks going to handle the rotation, right? Like there's talent there. Is it gelled? There's a lot of those kind of cool questions. There's a lot of parallels here that I think is going to be interesting. But it's don't let us make a run in the men's and women's tournament, because if you think we're insufferable after winning a game in November against Duke and burning couches on a Tuesday night, you should see what'll happen if we get 2 basketball programs going absolutely ham at the same time. The state won't even know what to do with itself.
Oh, I mean, yeah, and people still need to watch the women's team. Get to the game Sunday if you can. They are humongous. It's like the way that we saw the size for Duke play a factor for a large part of the game last night. The Kentucky front court does the exact same thing to teams. They wall up. They swallow teams up in the paint. They have explosive scores, shooting all over the place. Georgia O'Moore is a monster. They're a whole lot of fun. They run, they shoot, and they are the tallest set of people that I've ever seen.
Well, hopefully we come out with a victory. People are adding Duke fans.
I haven't seen anything from Duke Zone. Has anyone heard from Duke Zone?
There's an here just this isn't basketball or sports related. Chris Bailey posted that with a winter pattern taking shape later next week, there's an increasing chance we get some snow around or before Thanksgiving. I am hearing that this might be a winter wonderland type of winter for us, which I gotta tell you, I'm a lot more excited about. I absolutely despise rain winters when it's just cold and wet. If it's gonna be cold, give me cold and snow, because I feel like that's way more worth the shit than the other way around. What do you feel about that? And would you be excited about getting a lot of snow this winter?
I mean, getting a lot of snow as someone who, could potentially get off of school if there's some snow, give me all the snow. Throw every piece of snow my way. I want every flake to hit the ground. The football season, it's been a bunch of baloney that we haven't had any cold games. Last night, we should have been playing a football game last night. It was perfect football temperature. We haven't gotten any of those at Kroger Field this year. But if being warm all fall gets us a bunch of snow and gets me out of a couple of classes throughout the winter, bring it on. I want all of it. Please no rain though. Rain sucks.
Rain's terrible. We're gonna have to figure out a place. We are gonna have to figure out a place for these watch-alongs as like backups for weather, because I feel like upstairs in my little
It's gonna get cold in a hurry out there on the patio.
Yeah, I also feel like in my little man cave upstairs is not necessarily the greatest, but we could maybe play around with it and see if there's a little bit more.
If there's a way to flip it around and use those couches upstairs, I think I would punch a bourbon bottle if we watched a game in the desk.
I'm sure there is.
High five system wouldn't work exactly the same. It'd be all thrown off.
I'm sure we can figure something. We'll figure something out. We'll have to figure it out.
They beat Duke.
Yeah, that's all that matters. We beat Duke, so the watch-alongs are fun though. I think it's definitely a lot of fun for Rando, who can't get to games. So there's going to be some games I think he's doing this not with us, because we will be at Rupp enjoying the fruits of the labor. But it's imagine what these watch-alongs are gonna. Imagine what these watch-alongs are going to be like for an NCAA tournament run.
Rando is going to he's going to have like a Tuesday night home game where it's just him against somebody, and we're going to go to overtime and against somebody with a losing record in the SEC play, and he's going to be throwing a fit on the live show. He's going to be cussing at everybody. He's going to be telling everybody.
So I've got the media Wi-Fi for Rupp Arena, so I could literally jump on in Rupp and just be like, "Hey, calm down, my guy."
Somebody's gonna need to have an eye on Rando. No,
I could only do it for like 30 seconds because you'd get in a lot of trouble. Like, you're not supposed to live. Like, I don't think it would be as big of a problem probably if I'm like not watching the game, right? Like, if it's not at the court, if it's right here. But I wouldn't do it long because I don't want anybody I wouldn't want to get in trouble for it. But I know I could get away with it for like a halftime or something like that easily.
Oh, probably, yeah. I mean, you just pretend you're on a phone call and do it.
I mean, it's not like none of the content is being changed. I think actually if I'm in the concourse, it's fine. I just would probably just walk out which is great because where our seats are, it's literally like right on an aisle, right at the top of the lower level. Just walk right out and you're in the concourse anyway. So
yeah, if you get a chance to do a watch along with Rando, he is hilarious to watch the games with. I got multiple texts talking about how funny Rando was in the last 4 minutes of the game. They said they felt like Rando was in Atlanta with the team, like playing on the court.
It was intense, man. We were locked in. Like, we've all been around each other for a while. We've been around each other for a while now. I don't think but football hasn't gone the way we wanted. But this is like the last two games. Well, the last two games is the first time we've watched games with each other, right? That was the first game you and I have watched together.
Yeah.
And the intensity really started to come out. And I think the interesting thing, and it'd be curious to hear about this from other Kentucky fans too. Like, you had it in you from basketball, but it's been so blah, right? And I think it's so hard. It's kind of like with football. It's so hard to shake because it's been such a big love for the last few years because we've been good, and stuff. And you you can't help but not watch and still be interested in things like that because of that. With basketball, it's so different because I've been so checked out of basketball. I think a lot of people like basketball, but at the same time, they haven't felt connected to the team. They haven't felt that love and passion probably that we're known for. There's always kind of been this almost a little bit of dread, I guess. And I think last night was where you started to see that passion from every corner of the fan base really start to come back. Because it's been a long time since you've seen bar videos with fans going crazy over a play, right? We haven't seen that in a long time.
We were lighting the couches on fire on campus.
You haven't seen the Big Blue Nation invading places like we have in the past. I think there's a lot of places in danger this year because I think Kentucky is going to invade a lot of houses, and that tournament, the SEC tournament, the NCAA tournament, I think is going to be a very, very big thing that people don't understand, that the Big Blue is coming, and you're going to see a groundswell for this team and behind Mark Pope that you haven't seen with this fan base in years.
Yeah, I'm trying to look right now. Don't we play? This is such a random thing. Yes, Vandy is on a Saturday. That stadium will be blue.
We might go to that game. Maybe we'll do a road trip.
It's a Saturday at 2:30. But yeah, like stadiums like that, like there's going to be some UK. There's going to be a UK section in Knoxville. There's going to be a UK section in South Carolina, and some of these stadiums that we always see a section. Florida is going to have some UK fans there. It's a lot of people are super excited. I mean, there were people from all over the place on our.
The get-in price right now. The get-in price for Clemson is $45.
Well, when is that? when are we? Tuesday the 3rd. I mean, I have no idea what I'm doing Tuesday the 3rd, but
it's a 6-hour drive.
Clemson's fine. You ever been to Clemson?
I've driven through Clemson.
I went to.
I feel like a 6-hour drive is a lot. I feel like that's a really long drive.
Nah, 6 is easy.
No, I feel like that. I feel like it shouldn't be that long.
Oh yeah,
maybe
it's just that one road through the mountains from like Knoxville to like.
To Asheville.
Yeah, it takes that takes forever. Yeah, Clemson. I went to Clemson. They played UConn like 2 years ago in football. I was there for that. It's I mean, they played UConn, and the tailgating scene was insane. It's a different thing going on in certain places of the world.
Well, it's a different thing also, like with especially football, national championship winning programs. Like go to a game in Miami and go to a tailgate and see exactly what, and you won't even understand what you just hit. But that's interesting. I mean, like I was interested that the tickets yesterday, the get-in price was pretty cheap. So I'd guess that you're going to see a lot of Kentucky. I'd venture to say you're going to see a lot of Kentucky fans in Clemson, South Carolina, for that game. Also, we haven't played them. I don't know the last time we played Clemson. The get-in price for the game against Gonzaga is $54. $54 for the get-in.
That's a lot.
Sure, no, but look, it is. But still, like it's interesting to see some of these big games that you're like, oh, like you know, what is it? The CBS Classic, is that the other one that we play against Ohio State?
Yeah, that'll probably be $4 to get in. Where is that this year?
Madison Square Garden. The get-in price for that game right now is $87.
That needed it. Yeah, if that was like anywhere else, that would.
It's actually easy to get to New York because if you were to fly from CVG, you can get a direct flight into LaGuardia or JFK, and you can get them. You can get round trip. You can get round trip to New York for under $200 sometimes. I mean, it's not that bad. And I tell you, I wouldn't want to drive to New York City. But it's cool, right? Like you see all that. It's interesting because you're seeing a lot of these I'm just kind of looking at like games that are coming up for Kentucky, you know, where
We are
people might
12
really.
4 all time versus Clemson. The 97 championship team lost to them in overtime in Indy. Indianapolis,
Mhm.
we are cursed in Indianapolis.
Yeah, I don't want to play there.
We lost to them in the NIT in 1979 in Lexington in overtime. Interesting.
Mm.
The 98 team beat them though by 15 in the Premier Classic. I don't know if you remember that. That was a top 15 matchup. That was the last time we played them. Was the 98 championship team.
Clemson's not ranked, right?
No, I mean we watched them last night. They had a battle with good old Eastern Kentucky until like
well, they
left.
blew the doors off them in the second half.
Yeah, just for that last 8 minutes, they dominated. But before that, Eastern had them on the ropes.
Are they receiving votes or anything? Let me see.
I don't know. They didn't look fantastic. That big guy looked good, but
yeah. Well, it's going to be interesting. We definitely have a lot of really fun, winnable games in the next couple of weeks. Kentucky's 3-0. I'd say they're going to be 7-0 going into that game at Clemson. If they start the season, if they beat Clemson and Gonzaga, I don't know. I mean, hypothetically,
if they go to Seattle and beat Gonzaga,
if Kentucky wins out through Gonzaga, are they number one?
Kansas is one. Sorry, I had to cough. Choked on the water touch. But
Kansas really doesn't.
They've maybe looked like number one so far, even though they're not number one. I mean, in the one game, and then they didn't play that good against Arizona State.
Kansas has one top 25 matchup between now and Duke
at some point, right?
Do what?
Kansas plays Duke at some point, I think.
Oh, never mind. They do. They have two. Sorry, I just saw. So Kansas plays Duke and Creighton. We've already played Duke. So they'll have had 3 top 15 games.
Those are 2 awesome matchups.
They'll have had 3 top 15 games before conference play, and we'll have had 2, right? Yeah.
Top 15 games?
But we will have 2 top 10 games, and they'll have 2 top 10 and 1 top 15, assuming nobody loses.
I mean, we can start worrying about whether we're ranked higher than Kansas if we go to Clemson and go to Seattle and win those games.
Sure. Look, and there's nothing to say that Kansas wins all of those games either. So, but
I would actually pick Duke to beat them if you ask me right now. So.
That's interesting. Well, they play in 13 days, so we'll see exactly how that goes 13 days from now.
I'm excited. That's gonna be a fun game.
That Kansas Creighton game is gonna be interesting. That Kansas Creighton game is gonna be interesting. Do what?
Faulkner versus Dickinson and the Creighton Kansas game, just the 2 big men going at each other.
Yeah, I think it's good. It's going to be interesting because it's a measuring stick for Creighton, because I know a lot of people kind of think Creighton could be a Final Four sleeper team, and to really kind of get an early season gauge of where they're at. Like if Kansas beats the doors off of them, you're kind of like, ooh, right? But at the same time, like
every single year,
maybe
they've never not been a Final Four sleeper team.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's a good place to stop. We'll be back tomorrow. Appreciate everybody listening. Love the win. We'll post this also so you can listen to the whole thing on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And we'll see everybody tomorrow.
Go Cats, go Duke.